Welcome to the DAYnamics Show. I'm Mariana, your host and guide on this empowering journey to remind you about the life you are meant to live, aligned with your dynamic well-being every single day. That's why the day in DAYnamics is capitalized. It's a reminder that embracing your ever-evolving, vibrant nature is not just a momentary choice, but a daily commitment to yourself. Here on the DAYnamics Show, we believe there's no one-size-fits-all path to life. Instead, we explore the limitless opportunities and possibilities that can help you design a life that truly serves your unique and ever-changing self. You are here for a reason, and together we'll uncover what that is. So, are you ready to step boldly into your new dynamic life by design? Our discussion recording will explore the subject of health dynamics, and that is a big subject. So we will touch little aspects of it along the way, and I have the pleasure of discussing those with our guest, Makota.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Now, Makota, before we introduce you, and for those that haven't, well, I'll introduce you right now. Makota has been a part of Kid Dynamics, Dynamics series, and this DAYnamics Show for a long time. So
Yes.
go to our website. You can find out more information about her. Presently, she is a teacher. She's doing her master's degree. She is a world traveler. She has so many different aspects of her life that she plays D&D. What else?
Video games and writing and all
Yeah,
that fun stuff.
all of that stuff, reading, book clubs, acting, all of this stuff. So we're very, very pleased to have such a well-rounded person have this discussion about health. So I usually ask the listeners this, and I will as well, but I will also ask you, Makota, what you feel. Makota, listeners, when you think of the word health, what do you automatically think of? What part of health what is health to you?
Well, I think it's physical health. I think about my body and all the things that it can or cannot do based off of how much I work it, pretty much.
Right. So when you go to health, are you naturally are going to physical?
Yes, in my mind.
How many different aspects of health do you think that are most common overall? If you were to guess a number between 1 and 10.
I don't know, maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah. It's very interesting because I did a lot of research on this, and in general, the people I've been asking, they go to physical more than anything, physical health, which is a given. There's a lot more on the intellectual / mental / mind health that's going on as well. And my findings found, which is why I picked this subject, not only because we're doing all our core dynamics. If you don't know what they are, dynamicseries.com, look under dynamics, and health is one of them. So you said 2 or 3, and I have, over through the research, have looked at anything from 5 to 10 different health aspects.
Wow. That's a big difference.
It is a big difference. And they all sort of intertwine with each other, but they don't necessarily are not related to what people would think is health. Like one of them is financial. Now, would financial health be something that you think would you associate financial and health together, and how if you're financially healthy, not that doesn't mean you have hundreds of dollars in your or hundreds of dollars, but whatever amount, but would you associate financial with health?
Well, I think now that you explained it, I think I would. If you're financially healthy, I would see it as like having a good mindset or a good relationship with money, just like how you would with your body if you're good physically with your health.
Right. So it's about reminding everyone and just bringing this awareness about living this dynamic life by design, because we all know that we co-create our life. And if you don't know that, you do. You're having a relationship with everything and everyone at all times. We are all energy. We all come together. We all, law of attraction, attract each other into each other's lives for reasons. Sometimes that is not necessarily a feel-good reason. Or it could be a feel-good reason. So again, it's all a co-creation. So you're co-creating with your finances. Your, like you said, your mindset on finances could be part of your health. Because if you're having some issue from a financial point of view, or you have to maybe just reiterate, like, am I having lack feelings, or am I knowing that I'm abundant and this world is abundant and I have infinite possibilities around finances, and what is your relationship with money? And that can affect your health
Yes.
too, and your mind and your spiritual, like, let's just go over some of the aspects of it. What else would you think would have association with health? So we've talked about the physical, and we've talked about the mind, which they call the intellectual, and we've just talked about financial. What are some of the other health things that you think would, now that you know that different perception and perspective on health, what else you think might be some of the ones that we
Talked about? What
in,
comes to mind?
or what in the research that I've done is some of the other subjects that you think health would fall under, where it's one of the core ones.
Yeah, I think of occupational health actually. I actually know someone that is an occupational health therapist, and that's what they do for a living. That they help people come back into the workforce. They help them with understanding their mental capacity. It's also like an encompassing type of health in that way that it focuses on the physical, on the mental, on the environment, but also surrounds the idea of, oh, it's about your job. It's about how you can get better at your job with all those aspects in mind, and how can you come back into the force of whatever your job is with a good mindset and good health and all of that.
Yeah, that's a really good, because occupational is one of them, in that it does it does focus more on the work and your creative side and your career side and your, even your retirement, because that's still you doing something, whether you're working for someone else, like you said, in a job, or, and all of that being healthy.
Yes.
When you think about going into your job where you're going to work, like, is work something, like some people say, is a four-letter word you don't want to think about? Or do you look at it more of, my occupational health is me getting to express myself out in this world in a certain way in which I have studied for in university, that I have now going from my master's degree. Like, what way do you look at, the work that you do and the creativity side that you do and the writing that you do and how you, play your video game? Like, how do you now look at occupational health and the importance of the balance of all of them as we go through?
Yeah, it's totally different now that I've realized that it was even really a thing, because sometimes when you talk about a subject, you don't know the giant scope of how it can be and how it can all kind of encompass each other and interconnect that way, and that they're all important.
Yeah, so true. And the balance of them all and how they do touch each other. Because
Yes.
if you're not good with your work, sometimes that can affect your financial stuff. That can affect your physical stuff if you're in a physical
Yes.
job. So there's that health that goes around there. I'll just quickly go over the other ones. You can go to the blog, and we may talk about just maybe one or two of them as we
Right.
go through this podcast. Emotional feelings, your whole well-being. How
Yeah.
are you on that emotional scale? How do you deal with your emotions?
It's a big one for
It's a big
sure.
one, yeah. Intellectual, which we've talked a little bit about. Now, people talked the word mental health. So it's acceptable, but it's not anymore. Like, I don't know where that balance is right now, but they call it intellectual health now, which encompasses mental and mind health. So again, how is important is that?
Very important. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're having things that are in your head that are making it hard for you to be able to do those other healths in
Yeah.
your daily lives, and that makes a big difference. If you have that mental block of being able to do something physical or maybe even something financial, then that can stop you from getting all those other healths under control.
Right. And good point. And if you have a mindset of negative or positive, lack or abundant, what do you prefer in all of these? Like all of that affects you as well. Your mindset too will affect your physical, your occupational, like it'll
Everything,
all like
yes.
it affects how do you look at things. And I mean, you think about the mindset and intellectual too, is like, how do you talk to yourself? What is your
Right.
self-talk?
What's your inner voice saying and all that to
Yeah.
yourself? Yes.
And not even about to and about yourself, because it always starts from within, but around all of these subjects. This is again just a reminder and bringing awareness to all of this, because you have the opportunity at any time to have a dynamic, well-being, balanced life if you're willing to take a bit of time to re-evaluate this and where you are with all these healths in your life, so that you can have a different perception. We are taught a lot when we're growing up, because we learn what
By examples, by the
by
people around us.
example, by influence, okay, whether it's parents or guardians or people that are have the well-being of kids in mind, coaches, teachers, this and that. And you have that where you have to do a certain rule or be a certain way, or whatever, to
Yes.
fit into the world, or whatever circumstance it might be. So
And it even fits very well into the next health of the social health,
yeah.
that all of those influences have such a big aspect on everything else, just like we mentioned. If you don't have a good social health, well, that affects your mental, that affects your physical, your emotional, and that they're all so deeply interconnected that they all work that way, you know?
Yeah. So it's all again intertwined. So like Makota said, social health is another one. So good one on that for you, because social health could be in person or online. It could be just how you work with other people, and do you have a social life? Do you have something outside of your occupational life?
Yes. And how do you interact with people and how they interact with you? And how
Yeah.
does that impact your everyday life
Yeah.
and how you see everything?
Yeah, or are you an introvert? Are you an extrovert? Are you different in different situations? All that stuff. Spiritual side. Now, spiritual side does not mean that you have to be, your spiritual health does not mean that you have to be religious or that you follow something. Your spiritual health is really focusing on the well-being, knowing that things start from within, knowing that you're co-creating your life, and knowing that there is this vast universe of space and time and planets and stars. And where are you in that spiritual side?
Right.
Whether it is, who do you have as your support? Do you have that inner guidance? Do you know that there's something greater and bigger, and that you can connect with that on different levels without making it to one way or the other? And then on the other hand, where there's people that are very like religious or like spiritual on that side, where they follow a certain teaching or a certain way of life, and all the well to you, as long as it's empowering you. If it's fear based, not for it. But if it is empowering you and moving you forward to who you truly are, that is the better choice.
I agree.
And environmental, that's another one. What is your environment like? Your bedroom, your house, around your house, the environment of where you live. Do you live downtown in a bustling city where your air might not be as good, or
Yes.
or do you live in the country where there's the environment in which you are at work? What does your work environment look like? What does your desk look like? What do you get a view? Do you not, like all these environmental stuff? And then you think about all the the stuff that is around environment. And so how do you feel about environmental health and how it can affect all the other ones as well for the balance?
Well, it does. I mean, that's the thing, is that if you have a environment, say at work, that you just don't like, maybe it's a little cubicle and you have no color and it's not fun, that can affect you wanting to be emotional and like get both your emotions, and maybe you're just not happy with where you are. You might not want to be as social. You might have a bad mental state because of that. And again, like you just saw, I listed three that were all affected because of your environment. Whereas if you love your environment, all those three and even more can be positively impacted. If you're in the forest and you love nature and you have fresh air, then you might be more physical and you might want to go outside more, and you might want to be happier because you get to go experience all these things and be grateful for them. So that environment can really be that switch that just has to flip for that positive and negative.
Yes. I can tell you on a physical level that focuses on environmental and occupational. One of my roles was assistant operations manager for one of the major bus companies. I was down in the lanes with all those bus and all the fumes and this and that. And so I had to find the balance of going outside, and I was in concrete, I was in fluorescent light. And so I just had to find the balance of going outside because I loved what I did. But I also know from an environmental perspective, it was hurting a bit of my physical as well. So the health is always connected. So physical, emotional, intellect, which is again mental or mind, social, spiritual, environmental, occupational, financial. And there was actually three more of them that I found as well, but I didn't feel that they fit as well as these ones here. So as we wrap this up, the challenge to everyone is go look at these different healths and what is your perception? What is your perspective on all of these? And are you willing to have a different perspective? Oh, this affects my physical, my social, like the healths, and seeing, which one do they affect and which one can you find some balance on, or which one do you have to do something different and align differently for your health?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And Makota, what would you like to say from, a health dynamics overall view? As how do you feel now that we've had this discussion about health in general and knowing how these can interact with each other?
Well, that's, I think, just exactly it, is that every single health can impact the other health very much so. And so keeping that in mind when you're maybe not having the best emotionally healthy day, is there other things that are also part of your health that are impacting that? Have you gotten up to do something? Maybe you're stressed about financial stuff. Maybe your environment isn't how you want it to be, and how all those things correlate, and hopefully figuring out a way that you can make those better, and just recognizing it so that you can have a better day.
Yeah. And be willing to choose something different.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And making health a priority, because again, what you focus on will expand. So as you're focusing on affirmative things around your health, and we have a whole bunch of them in the blog, in other podcasts as well, where you can use those DynaTools, that's dynamics and tools together, to help you switch to make you feel better about any of these. Makota, thank you so much for being part of this journey of this podcast. Do you feel like you're more balanced in your health just by knowing all of this?
Yeah, for sure. And I hope you all are too that are listening. So
Yeah, all of our listeners. So
thanks for having me.
yeah, thank you for being here. So listeners, what have you resonated with the most on this show today? Find that reason for being here, and hopefully you have. I would like to say, if you want to continue the discussion, you can email or chat with us through our website, or send this to a friend and continue the discussion. Now, you might agree or disagree with some of this, and that's okay, because again, when you know what you want, you know what you don't want.
Yeah.
You don't know what you don't want, you don't agree, that's okay. Find your balance to feel good, and make sure it's a healthy feel good. Not just like, oh, I was told I need to do this, so this is what I'm doing. We are influenced a lot in this world, so just make sure that you're doing what's right for you, and it's okay not always to be in agreement with your social standings of
Yeah.
health. Just do what serves you the best. DaynamicsShow.info, DynamicsSeries.com. You'll find some great information, and you will find out like to be dynamic more if you go and do some research there. And I also need to do a quick reminder that all of this material is for informational purposes only. And that I want to say thank you again. Thank you, Makota.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, listeners. And make it a dynamic day.
Make it a dynamic day.